Good evening. Welcome. We are going to begin the November 12th CRA board meeting. It's at 6:30 p.m. We will begin with the roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Yes.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. We'll begin tonight's meeting with the invocation by Board Member Woodrow Hay, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. If you please rise.
Let us pray. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Father, we thank you for this Thanksgiving season, time to express our love and appreciation to all our family and friends. Help us not to take your blessings for granted. You are a remarkable God. Please continue to bless this CRA board and its staff. Help us to continue to make the correct decision that will elevate this city to the next level. In your goodness, watch over all those in authority so that people everywhere may enjoy freedom, security, and peace. Father, we pray especially this evening for the families in the Philippines. Many were killed, hurt, and or displaced by this terrible, devastating typhoon. They are hurting for many reasons, and I ask you, Lord, to help them through this season of loss. We reach out to you, the Father of compassion and the source of every comfort, asking you to touch them with your unfailing love and kindness. Be their God who comforts them as they're going through their struggles, and bring them through this tough times that lies ahead. Come alongside them in their pain and strengthen them so they will one day be able to help others who face the same struggles. May we sense your presence in this hour of need. In our Savior's name we pray, and all God's people said, Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed to the motion unanimous. Informational items or disclosures by the board members and CRA staff. Staff, do you have any disclosures?
No.
Okay, I'll put down with Board Member Buchanan.
Yes, I, of course, as most of us here, attended the FRA conference during this past month, which was its usual excellent and informative and valuable event. I also attended the Pirate Fest. Actually, I worked at Pirate Fest for the museum, the Children's Cross Museum, and attended the nighttime part where I actually got to taste the best margarita I've ever had in my life, that jalapeno margarita. And then also the Harvest Hoedown this past weekend. So we've had a lot of great events happening in Boynton, and they were all terrific. That's it. No conflicts.
Mr. Casello?
Yes, I also attended the FRA conference up there in Tampa. It was very informative, and glad we had the opportunity to attend that. Also, we attended the Ian Barrett dedication at the Chamber of Commerce lobby. Ian Barrett was one of the first I believe maybe the founding father of the Chamber of Commerce here in Boynton Beach, and so that was a nice evening. We also some of us, we participated in that read-a-size over here at the amphitheater with Vice Mayor Hay. And the wife and I, we volunteered at the recent hoedown at the Intercoastal for the Chamber's little festivities there. That was a lot of fun. Also, we attended commissioners, most of the commissioners attended the Veterans Day ceremony at Veterans Park, honoring our veterans, which was an honor. Thank you.
Commissioner Merker?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hay, Board Member Hay?
I ditto all of the things that Board Member Casello said, but in addition, I attended Ronald McDonald. Was
I missed that one.
Oh, you got that one too?
I missed it. No,
Did
I
you
missed
do
that.
anything for me?
I missed it.
But that was a great activity. I did bring back for my two colleagues the 2013 Best Look from the Florida Redevelopment Awards. Let me just say that Boynton Beach was well represented for Board Member Merker and for Commissioner Fitzpatrick. The rest of us were there, and I thought you might get some interesting reading from that. That's all I have.
Board Member Fitzpatrick?
I had a brief conversation with County Commissioner Santa Maria at a Sierra Club function Friday night, and Saturday night, and I met two, I believe it was the principals of Hudson Holding. I forgot their names. Maybe Mike Simon can help me out there. But
Steve Michaels.
Yeah.
And Avi Greenbaum.
Yep. And that's it.
Okay. Mr. Karageorge, Board
Yes.
Member Karageorge.
I have a few disclosures, actually. Back in 2008, 9, and 10, I was advising a developer on a project, and then later in the 2009 and 10, decided to run for office and wanted to disclose that one of the people that contributed to my campaign is the attorney for One Boynton LLC now. There's no current benefit. I just wanted to disclose that that wonderful attorney, Bonnie Miskell, had supported my candidacy back then. So I wanted to disclose that. Also, I wanted to disclose that I met with Ken Spilius at FRA and discussed what is coming before us tonight, and also some other issues concerning legal matters that may come before this board. I also had a chance to talk with Attorney David Tolsis, who is legal counsel for the Del Rey CRA, about their what the Auditor General found and some of their recommendations and some of their implementations that they are doing. And I also met with the owners of DJs concerning the driveway curb cut closure project at their site on East Boynton Beach Boulevard. And I too met with the people from Hudson Holdings, Steve Michael and Avi Greenbaum, about a future MLB project, and was very pleased with that meeting. That's it as far as disclosures. As far as informational items, you guys are really modest, and I'm not. So we went to FRA, and our CRA was nominated for more awards than any CRA in the state of Florida. We were received with great respect and admiration by people from Jacksonville, Dania Beach, and other places throughout Florida. It was very informative and very educational, but it was also very fun. We're having tonight an item involving Family Dollar. And you guys sure opened a Family Dollar sure opened a bunch of stores in the CRA districts over in Tampa, and I asked a bunch of questions about that stuff when we were on a tour. And they're doing some other things, like they're opening a Walmart over in Tampa in a CRA district, and obviously we did that in our CRA district. But it was a lot of fun, and we did win an award. It was great to receive that, but it's also good to know that this board, this agency, is respected throughout the state, and that we're doing things the right way. So I'm going to get off that soapbox. I also attended Pirate Fest, had a great time. Was there Saturday until we shut things down, right, Vivian?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it was a lot of fun. Mr. Buchanan may have enjoyed his margaritas. I like my pina coladas. It was a really nice time. I also participated in the Harvest Hoedown, as well as volunteered with Board Member Costello and Board Member Buchanan. I also had the pleasure of attending Stage Left's opening it was on marriage, so I took out a notebook because I'm not married, so I was taking notes during the play. But I will tell you that we had some great married couples there for that opening. Several of them. Our chair, Jerry Taylor, and his lovely wife, they kind of set the bar as far as years married for the rest of us. And then we had Board Member Board Member Fitzpatrick and his lovely wife. And not to be outdone, Board Member Costello not only brought his lovely wife, but his fantastic daughter. And all children should be like his daughter. I've said that several times, and I really mean it. She's just fantastic. And so those events, I also want to thank those board members that came out yesterday and showed the support for our veterans. I unfortunately had a conflict with work and was tied up, and it was the first time in many, many years that I have not made that ceremony. I will tell you, our veterans appreciate when a veteran gets up and stands before them. And Chair Taylor, being a great veteran and service to our country, I talked with a few of the veterans that were there yesterday, and they appreciated each and every one of you that spoke yesterday and that was there, and it was greatly appreciated. And I just want to say thank you to you guys, and thank you to our veterans, because without those veterans and also our current active duty people, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Well, I attended all the events that have already been listed, so I won't go back over them. I just do want to mention that Board Member Fitzpatrick had played a big role in the Stage Left Theater. I think he was one of the builders that helped build the stage there, worked a lot, put in a lot of time and effort, and we want to appreciate that. They were very much appreciative of your work, Mr. Fitzpatrick, because they all told me about it, so I want you to recognize you for that. The only other thing I have, besides all the events we went to, was I did talk to Ken Spilius over there, too, but it was basically social talk. I don't think we discussed anything that's coming before this board, but I did want to mention that. I spoke with him there. I do also want to say that we were given the award for the work that the CRA board did with the Little House. That was great. And 5 other times, I believe, we were mentioned in the program for different projects that the CRA accomplished. So congratulations, the board. Really a great job and made us very proud. The other thing that's going to come up later on the agenda, but I want to know on the Boynton 1, I have been in contact with Mr. Camelier's representatives, both Bonnie Miskell and Rebecca Shelton, and by phone and in person. I met with them to discuss how we were coming along with that project, so I want to put that on the record. Okay,
Mr. Mayor?
That's it. Yes.
You might want to mention the Veterans Building for Veterans.
Yes, I was going to do that at the City Commission, but I can do that here. We, Mr. Costello, myself, and Fitzpatrick attended a groundbreaking in Boynton Beach up off Seacrest, West Seacrest. There was a vacant lot, and we're working with people. We broke ground to build a...
Sorry, I'm not sure what you said.
Let me repeat that. That's a good reminder to quiet our phones, I guess. We had a groundbreaking. We're going to be building a home for disabled veterans, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's an excellent project, and not only that, they're actually going to use disabled veterans to help build that house and let them learn how to do the construction jobs, be done by contractors, but working hand in hand with these disabled veterans so that they can find future employment maybe in that same way. So I just think it's a great thing that the city, I'm proud that the city of Boynton Beach is doing that for disabled veterans. Thank you. Okay, I think that's everything there, so we'll move on to informational items. Any informational items that I don't think there are any there. The consent agenda. Anybody need to remove anything from consent agenda? Hearing none. Okay, that takes us to Public comments. Anybody in the public wish to address the commission may do so at this time. I ask that you give your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and go to old business. Consideration of issuing an invitation to bid for the construction of the CRA-owned public parking lot project located at 208 Northeast 1st Street.
Good evening, Board Chair. Mike Simon, Assistant Director with the CRA. The item before you is the consideration of issuing an invitation to bid for contractors for the completion of the public parking lot project at the corner of Northeast 1st Street and Northeast 1st Avenue, addressed at 208 Northeast 1st Street. This invitation to bid would be released after, if approved this evening, would be released after the CRA has obtained final permit approval for the drawings that we currently have in a revision review now with the City of Boynton Beach Building Department. We anticipate getting those back approved by the end of this week, or certainly by the end of or early next week, and would address the submission date and release date accordingly, depending on the date that we receive the actual permit approval. So tonight we're bringing the document itself, which was reviewed and approved by legal at this point, minus again the actual submission date and the release date.
Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the issuance of the invitation to bid for the public parking lot project on CRA property located at 208 Northeast 1st Street within 3 business days of receiving the final building permit approval from the City of Boynton Beach.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Hay, Board Member Hay.
For discussion, as I look at the diagram, I don't see a crosswalk on Northeast First. Is there a reason for that? Because we talked about that.
We did. The city's engineering and building department review did not support the crosswalk at the intersection of First and First. We had addressed the drawings per the City Commission comments, and were asked to remove that crosswalk as part of their review. The mid crosswalk on First that takes you to the sidewalk connector has remained. It is in the drawings. The concern that the city expressed to us was the existing corner there at First and First is a 2-way stop, so it is not a 4-way stop intersection. And to mark across the through street, they had some concerns about the existing markings and how else it would have to be done. Andrew and the building department staff have taken the position that we will move forward with the review of the drawings with the mid-street crosswalk on First Avenue, and as the project begins and subsequent review of that intersection to see what other things need or can be done to accommodate that is the position of the building department. The engineering staff of Kimley Horn certainly presented the drawings the way they understood the direction of City Commission.
Is that a 4-way stop sign? Is that a city imposed or is that county imposed?
I believe, without speaking for the city, that street is a city-owned street. Currently, the north-south street, which is First Street, is not a stop street, and the east-west street, which is First Avenue, is a 2-stop. So in order to decide how to cross and mark the 4 corners, it was the position of the city that was something that involved more research and analysis and markings than the project itself warranted. But again, CRA staff and the engineering firm that represents the CRA and the project did address and took the direction of the City Commission site plan approval and did draw it with that crosswalk on First.
Okay, I see we have our city manager here. I will support this, but that parking lot, as I see it, is going to be heavily used, and a lot of people crossing that street. And if it's a city imposed ordinance, I think we probably need to look at it again down the road and see can we, because it's not just your ordinary parking lot. Going to be a lot of kids, a lot of parents, strollers and everything else. And I think that would add to the safety of the public with that crosswalk, even though it's only 2 stop signs. I mean, 4 stop sign versus 2 stop sign versus the safety of our citizens. You got to weigh that. So it's something I would like to talk about in the future, but I will support it now.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, do you want that addressed at the commission meeting next Tuesday?
I think that would be yes. Thank you.
Very good.
Yes, I would.
Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Show the motion unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, next, item B is consideration of agreement for legal services between the CRA and Lewis Longman and Walker, PA. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have most second discussion. Commissioner Merker.
Yes.
Board Member Merker, I'm sorry.
That's all right, no problem there. Little confused, little perturbed, and lots of questions. The issue of changing attorneys was based on the fact of a conflict of interest, which I understand and I totally support. And I totally support the idea of, how should I say it, simply sitting down and seeing what's right for the city. However, my homework says, doing the research on the issue of conflict of interest, over the past 5 years, has there been any conflict of interest with the attorney that we have, the law firm that we have now? The answer is no. Has it really cost the city any extra money? The conflict of interest, the term, we as the commissioners can actually have conflicts of interest. This is not something that's an unusual term or an unusual issue. So since I have not found that there's been a conflict of interest with our attorney, I pursued. We had a meeting in which we had 4 law firms standing up and saying that they can do the job. And with all respect, I respect that. That's why they're here. However, what I don't understand is if there truly has been no conflict of interest, what's the next important issue? And oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot. These law firms, including our attorney that we have now, were applauded, and I mean literally applauded, and these 4, even before they started their job. But they were applauded. So going back, I said to myself, well, fine. Change is healthy. That's a slogan all the time with politicians. But the key issue is dollars and cents. Part A, what I find unbelievable is I was not looking to buy a car when I heard and saw demonstrated the idea of attorneys negotiating their fees, both before and aftermath, after this firm was accepted. My experience being in government and my experience in general in ownership of business is the fact that I want to know what the fee is. Again, I'm not buying a car. So I find out that, and I know that the fee that our present attorney's law firm is quoted at $195 an hour. This new law firm first initially quoted higher and then came down. Again, I question that. I was not looking to buy a car. So it came down. $4,000 a month, let's call it for everyday business, ordinary business, and $230 an hour for, let's call it, cases that come up that have to be defended. Again, I repeat, the fee that we have right now is $195 an hour. Now, I don't mean to bore you or I don't mean to drag on, but the math that I went through was that our present cost to have the CRA attorney was less than what we have now. It was also projected in the budget of the CRA to add money. So I raised the question of my fellow commissioners who are truly interested in not overspending. Why are we potentially, and I use the word potentially because it's not fact yet, but the only thing fact is $230 an hour versus $195 an hour. I question what we're doing. And I finish with that. I am against this movement on the fact that I'm here to protect the city in every way, and that's also preserving and conserving money. And I thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. I would just suggest that what you're discussing here was already decided at a previous meeting, and it has nothing to do with what's before. What before us is when you did talk about the fees, you can discuss that, but the fact, all we're discussing, what's before us tonight is consideration of the agreement with this firm. And so it has nothing to do with whether or
Well,
not we're
isn't
going to hire
the
this firm.
agreement of cost a question?
Well, you brought that up.
Well,
You have
I-
a question with the fees, so
Well,
we
I think it's
understand
the major issue.
that. Well, we made your point.
Well, thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank
I'm
you.
glad I made my
Yeah,
point.
Yeah. Commissioner Casella.
Mr. Mayor, I thought the way we vetted the applicants for this position, I thought was kind of skewed. I didn't really feel comfortable in having everybody in the room and giving everybody 3 to 5 minutes to state their case. And like Board Member Merker said, they were negotiating on the go. I had mentioned that to the director, Ms. Brooks, that I was concerned about the fee, the higher fee than what we're currently paying. And I was not assured, but it was mentioned that it would be negotiated to get it in line with what we're currently paying the lawyer now. And as I see now, these numbers here, that's not the case. On a personal level, I was very happy and satisfied with our current attorney, and I'm kind of disappointed in these numbers, basically.
Any other
Commissioner?
discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Hay. Board Member Hay.
Yes. Let me just say that what comes to mind is a couple of incidents where it was a conflict and could have been a conflict. One is the parking lot that we're talking about right now across on First Street. There was an issue about the handicap parking, whether or not we should increase or decrease that by one, and that came before I think it was the Planning and Development Board, zone it.
Yeah.
And the board was represented by the legal firm of Jim Cheroff and his group, but the CRA, Mike Simon, was standing right there with no representation. Okay, one of these two, he was standing with no representation. To me, that's a conflict when you have the city being represented and the CRA is not being represented because the same company, same agency is representing both. That's a conflict. I remember one other time, it did not present a problem, and thank goodness it didn't, but it was concerning the streetscape. For the longest, the CRA had been paying for the maintenance of the streetscape. It came to a point where we couldn't do that no more. Well, it could have been opposed by the city in terms of, well, we don't feel we should pay that, or we should go half and half, or whatever the case may be. That would have been another conflict because the same legal organization would have had to represent the city and the CRA, and you can't do that. I know of some other issues that I'm going to right now that's coming down the pipe, okay, will probably be the same type of scenario. But just mentioning those two is enough for me to make the decision. I have nothing against Jim or his organization. I think it's a fine organization, okay? But my position has always been from day one is to have a separate legal for both the CRA and another one for the city. So I will support this.
Chair.
Yes, sir. Ms. Carey-George.
Yes, the reason that I made the motion to go out to RFP for this was several points. One was to avoid the appearance of any conflict. Two, FRA had suggested, when each of us had gone through training, that they recommended that there be separate counsel so that there not be an appearance of any conflict. Yes, it has worked both ways, where city attorneys have handled CRA matters and vice versa, where there's been separate counsel. I also want to make a point of order in that Jim's firm had a chance to respond to the RFP and chose not to. And so we, after going out to RFP, made the decision that we did based on the 4 applicants in front of us. And tonight we are discussing and considering the agreement before us. We are not, there's already been, as a point of order, we've already made the decision, and to allow discussion on that, it would take someone from the prevailing side to go there. Therefore, I don't feel that that's necessary. And that's why I just wanted to bring out those points. I, too, like Chair Hay, am familiar with those and other situations that had the potential for conflict, but working with the city, we were able to overcome those. And you're right, there are some potential things down the road that could be a conflict as well. That's it.
Okay, I agree with the comments of Board Member Hay and Board Member Carey-George. Anything else? Go ahead.
The word potential is not an emphatic declarative word. It is not saying it is going to happen. Anything could happen. I noticed one thing, other than Commissioner Casello, no one mentioned dollars and cents. I find that to be the issue. If we and each one here has given accolades and applauded the attorney that we have now, then why change if the only issue truly is fees? If the fees are less, and it's going to be less for the city, pardon my slang, it's a no-brainer. Why are we willing to spend more money? Because of potential things that could happen? That's ludicrous. Anything could happen.
The fees aren't the only issue.
Well, I'm saying that it wasn't even discussed among us. Not one of you have even brought that up as an issue, and that winds up being the major issue. If each one of you feel that our attorney, as Vice Mayor said, applause to Jim and his firm, and everyone else has given him the accolades, then the only issue that's questionable is the fact of fees. And the fee is obvious. It's black and white. There's a significant difference of $35 an hour. It's black and white.
It's not just the fees. It was also talked about conflict of interest.
Well, I brought that up, and there hasn't been any.
And the FRA, who has strongly recommended that there be a separation. So there are other issues.
There has been no conflict of interest in the past 5 years.
Chair, point of order.
Yes.
Point of order that this matter has already been decided.
Yes, I know. We'll just go ahead and give Mr.
Call for the
Board
vote.
Member
And
Fitzpatrick.
what we're here to discuss is the consideration of the agreement before us.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Show the motion passes 5-2. Thank you. Next item is status and direction of the One Boynton, Canner, and Pantaluga project.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may make a recommendation, in the future when we have the sending memos, could we state their name? Because sometimes that doesn't get properly recorded.
There was the 2 members that voted no were Board Member Merker and Board Member Casello.
And who
The others
voted yes?
Aye. All the other 5 voted aye. Okay, item B.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you.
I mean C, I'm sorry.
See,
We've been, since March, when we issued our RFP for our corner property at Boynton Beach Boulevard and Federal, 222 North Federal, and we got a response from One Boynton with a very nice project which involved an office building, residential, and a hotel. We have been trying to get some terms from One Boynton, to development terms, to enter into some kind of development agreement. When you put out an RFP, then the expectation is that you get some business terms that then you transform into a development agreement and or purchase agreement, sometimes both. We have not been able to get that. We have been putting information out, i.e. we've actually, we made an offer on a piece of property to get Tanner Penaluga on his site, contingent upon bringing that to you and upon appraisal, which we have to do by statutory regulations. We've, Ms. Miskell and I have been emailing a lot back and forth, trying to get from her client a response to this offer, contingent offer, on the land. It was a very generous offer, by the way. It actually, we have appraised values on our property. It ended up being between cash and everything $2 million for 0.6 of an acre. So very, very generous offer in this market. And the reason being is that this is a high priority project that you guys have, that this board has identified as Class A office, jobs downtown. So it met two goals of this board. So I think that we made a very generous offer. However, that was in September, mid-September. Tried to get back some response, elicit back a response. We could not get from that side, they're the seller, what is the price? We couldn't get the price, so we made an offer. Not the usual way you do it, but what the heck, we'll play. So we did that, and that's what we did. And so we have been, and there's a lot of emails back and forth, and I've given some of you those packets that I could see prior to this meeting. Again, what's been going on is negotiation between Tanner Penaluga and One Boynton, who we would be the one that would actually be selling the land to. So there's some disconnect. I'm not sure what it is. I can't quite figure it out. Typically, the letter of intent would be between the person who would be buying the land, us, and the person who you'd be selling it to or leasing it to. So there's been no real negotiation between the person who issued the RFP, which is us, or the agency issuing the RFP, which is us, and the person who responded to the RFP, which is One Boynton. We're getting very little information back on potential terms. Bonnie and I did do a lot of emailing this weekend. She's been very busy with some cases. And Mr. Camilleri did reject our offer for the land.
I would like to
Chair?
have, can we hear from Mr. Miskell?
Chair, I just have a question for Vivian
Go
real
ahead.
quick. Vivian, $2 million for something that has a market value of $600,000. And I base that on a similar parcel nearby that is undeveloped as well, and what it went for. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, there's the parcel count across the way that's under contract, that if you use the same numbers, it would be about 580, equate to 580.
So almost 600,000.
Yeah.
And versus $2 million. That was a pretty good offer that
Yes,
was
it
made.
was a very good offer.
Mr. Mayor, did Mr. Camilleri, didn't he have this property appraised at one point?
He did, but that
And
was
what
not
was that appraised at?
he got an appraisal that if it was all developed, all in a perfect world, and maybe 10 years from now, that was not a valid appraisal that you could take to the bank. That was not a bank appraisal.
It was a wish.
Yeah.
In the purchasing and development of land, again, I use the term from my experience, there's always a lot of jostling going on. This is normal. It's normal that the person who owns the land, who is attempting to sell the land, wants as much as he can get, and the party that is buying the land wants to get it as little as possible. The situation here, and I think what has to be defined, is the third party. And the third party is we, the city. Okay? I believe that we, the commissioners, would very much like a project like this to move forward. But I think where we are, I'll speak for myself, I'm sorry, confused. Confused in the sense that I realize the jostling, but what I think the key point is, and I hope this is not dead, even though the papers may have said that, but I think the jostling is normal, but I think by what I just heard from our director that we the CRA would like to be informed, call it periodically, okay? I understand that, things, as I keep repeating, it goes back and forth, and I think the confusion is, personally speaking now, that is this alive or is it dead? And if it's alive, I'll speak for myself, then hopefully we'll keep pursuing and hopefully it'll come through. So my question is to you, Bonnie, is it alive? Is it dead?
Well, we thought it
get
would.
her input. Yeah.
Bonnie Miskell here on behalf of the property owner. We actually were very much of the opinion it was alive until we read the article. To be perfectly honest, we were quite surprised and disappointed with that article. We didn't feel that it was a correct depiction of where we are, what we've been doing, and what we were instructed to do. And if I can just give you a little background on how we got to where we are today, and I was not involved back in March. I've just been involved in the last 2 months. This is a bit of a unique situation because the CRA is not interested in acquiring our property unless the Canner law firm is part of the transaction, which really throws a little bit of a curveball into the equation because it isn't simply, and I'll respectfully disagree a little bit with Vivian on this point, it isn't simply a negotiation between a willing seller and a willing buyer. This is a case where we have a conditionally willing buyer and we have a conditionally willing seller, and then we have this other third party that isn't bringing any money to the table but must occupy the property in order for you all to find this appealing. So this is not your traditional and typical transaction. And from the point that I got involved, we started, I immediately contacted Vivian upon being retained and said, I represent the seller, we need to put some sort of a contract together, and we started talking about potential terms. And after our discussions and with the involvement of one of the broker in the deal, we recognized that the three parties were not fully understanding of where each of the parties was. The occupant, Canner, we had one expectation that they were going to be participating in the whole transaction, and what we later learned is that they had a whole laundry list of requirements but brought no money to the table. And so there were things that all parties were not aware of and that needed to be flushed out in order for us to come back to you with something that we could stand up and say, it's doable, we've negotiated this, the terms are solid, appraisals are in, et cetera, et cetera. So and I thought we were on the same page. Vivian is correct, an offer was made. My client did reject the offer. At our next meeting with Vivian, which was 2 or 3 or maybe 4 days later, we verbally advised that the client did not accept the offer. I was remiss into putting that in writing, and I didn't do it until recently, but he had rejected it very early on. But the idea was that there were perhaps other ways to skin the cat, so to speak, that perhaps we could do some swaps and work out some arrangements that would make the whole transaction a little bit more financially feasible for all parties concerned. So we rejected it, but with the understanding that we were going to keep talking about it. When we met at the CRA office with all the parties at the table and the broker representing Mr. Canner, we did learn some things there that we did not know about. But I thought when we left the room, what we had concluded was that we needed to make sure that the ultimate user was in the game, had some skin in the game, and was prepared to move in the event that we negotiated a deal or we were wasting our time. And so we had subsequent meetings with them. We, within a few days of probably 3.5, 4 weeks ago, I had committed to drafting a contract with them, a letter of intent. I was a couple days late, but I got it over to them within 2 days, and they did not respond until last Tuesday. It took them about 3.5 weeks to get back to us. So we now have something from them that at least we feel as though it makes sense for there to be continued dialogue here, that we're not wasting your staff's time or yours ultimately, or my client, because they have spent a significant amount of money up to this point. So that's where we are. We have an understanding between your ultimate user and the seller so that we can come back and negotiate, and we can deal with prices and appraisals and everything else, which, by the way, I will disagree on. It's a qualified licensed appraiser who gave a licensed appraisal, and in fact, the CRA has used them before. But you know what? Again, we're jostling, to quote you, Commissioner. This is jostling. We'll get there. We're finally at a point where we know now we have 3 committed parties, so we can try to get to the price part.
Okay, let me just throw my 2 bits in here. I've been involved talking to all the parties and stuff, trying to, this is a big deal for Boynton Beach if we could ever make this happen. That's a spark plug for our downtown. If we could ever just get that first piece of ground developed there. There is some, as always, it comes down to the money and who's going to put the money up. We've made an offer that I think was very good, and I understand Mr. Carrot George discussed it, but the CRA often pays, in order for development, pays more probably than what any project is worth. It wouldn't be the first time we did that, but the idea is to get it kick-started. So I feel like we've put some skin in the game. I think Mr. Camilleri needs to give us the solid price that he would absolutely take. That's it. We need to get that definite. Even if he rejected our first offer, I want to know what his number is. And then I would say that for the Canner people, we need to find out where they're at. They're getting a free land. I don't know where else you go to get free land to build a building. So I like to know what kind of skin they're putting in the game. If there's a gap, maybe they ought to take a look at how they can help us fill that gap. So I think there's some negotiation left to do here. So rather than to kill this tonight as being recommended, I would like to see the board give us another 30 days, and 30 days is the limit. Go back and see if there's still a way to make this deal happen. And now we got some more information, and then within 30 days come back and this board will be able to move one way or the other. But let the parties know that that's where we're at, and we'd love to get it done, but I think there's still some negotiation to be done.
Mr. Chair,
I'm offering that to the board.
I'll put it in the form of a motion.
As a motion, is there a second?
May I just concur?
Yeah, I'm going to get some more discussion.
Yeah, I would put that.
Yes, there is a motion.
Yes.
And okay, Mr. Buchanan?
yeah, I just have a question, because this doesn't make much sense to me. I'm a simple guy. You're selling, we're buying. As far as I'm concerned, we've offered a very high price, much more than the property is worth this time. But with all the things, I understand all that. So what difference does it make about the third party?
Well, and Vivian can jump in, but the CRA is only interested if we bring in with this the Canner law firm with all of its employees and their commitment to construct an office building of minimum size of 50,000 square feet. If they're not part of this deal, I've been told, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no deal. So, yes, I agree with you. Normally, a sale would be, you're interested in buying, I'm interested in selling, let's work out a price. But you're only interested in buying if you get a user like that to infuse your downtown, bring dollars, bring people, bring activity, and be willing to make that kind of an investment. And they've given us a contract that suggests they're willing to build a $20 to $25 million office building, which is a nice building for downtown. But until we got that contract, we had no knowledge, and we just received that last Tuesday. So that's why they are a factor. And normally, you are absolutely right. That would not be the case.
I still don't understand. Why aren't we the ones negotiating with Cantor?
The way I would have structured this is I would have structured an agreement with Mr. Camilleri that was contingent upon us getting a letter of intent from Cantor Penaluga.
Right.
That's how I would have structured it. They're getting a letter of intent from Cantor Penaluga based on a contingency making a deal with us.
I'm having difficulty understanding that.
The end result is the same.
Well, yes and no. I'm not averse to delaying this for 30 days at all. But this is sort of an unwieldy situation, and it seems maybe easier to clear up with straight negotiations. However, if you feel like you can do it in 30 days, I'm for it, but I have to admit the whole thing is a little beyond my simple comprehension.
Chair.
Board Member Fitzpatrick?
Well, I have pretty much the same concerns as Mr. Buchanan. We just want you to sell the land to us, and you're taking too much on yourself when you say our staff won't negotiate. That's what they're hired to do. That's what we're paying them to do, is those kind of negotiations. Mr. Camilleri is just mucking it up.
Well, first of all, we didn't say that your staff couldn't negotiate.
Then why are you negotiating and not our staff?
We start to help, actually. This was
we
intended,
don't want that kind of help.
Well, it wasn't going anywhere before we started, so that's why we...
whose fault was that?
I really am not here to pit fault on anyone.
Well, I can see why, because it's your client.
Well, I clearly will disagree with you, and I think he's being portrayed very unfairly. However,
I see him as a runaway bride who's never coming to the altar.
Well, first of all, I'd like to remind you that he owns real estate, that he pays taxes in the city. And he doesn't deviate from that. He doesn't question whether you've done the right or made the right decisions. He is willing to work with you if we can come up with a reasonable price. This is not a seller that came knocking on your door saying, you buy my land, you buy it now. He was approached, and he thinks it's a great idea, and he thinks it's a great thing for downtown Boynton. But I can't let you accuse him of mucking up the deal. Very frankly, we were going nowhere until we started talking to Cantor directly. We've now gotten much farther than we had in 6 months, in about a month. So with all due respect, I think we're moving in the right direction, and I certainly am not suggesting your staff can't do it. We're now at a place where we can have some productive conversations, and we'll either get there or we won't. But this is a landowner that was approached. He's not giving away his property. No one would. We wouldn't expect you to either.
$2 million for a half acre is giving away?
Well, we have an appraisal for over $3 million, so I guess it depends on which appraisal you're looking at. But
how about an appraisal you can take to the bank?
Well, we used your appraiser, sir.
I think they're discussing the whole acre, too.
Well, I want to give Bonnie credit for getting further along than some people have been able to. So I do give you credit for that, Bonnie.
Sure.
If we can't do it in 30 days.
And that's the real difference, is you've been involved a month and everybody agrees you're highly competent. But what happened to 5 months before, I believe we can point the finger at David Camilleri not willing to come to the table.
Well, we're going to move forward at this point. We have 30 days, and we appreciate the time, and we are going to move mountains if we can. And if
Chair.
at the end of the day we can't, then we'll acknowledge that. And
So where's
Let him finish.
yeah, where's our place in this negotiation? I mean, I can't see supporting anything that we're not front and center. I mean, our land's halfway in here too.
yeah, our land, we have an open RFP, which involves our piece of land right at the corner, the opposite corner where we're talking of purchasing. So there would be we still have to do some development business terms, basically. And so we're still some time away. So we still have to get to the dance. When we're not there, we have to agree to the date. So we're not there yet. We all agree this is a great project. I think both sides agree it's a great project. Cantor wants to be here if we can all agree. And it's just a matter of terms, really, is what it is. It's at the end of the day.
Well, the other problem I'm concerned about is that if there's other bigger players coming down the pike. Well, I mean, Hudson Realty, for instance, and other people with LaCessa. And if we come across as pushovers and willing to go do whatever it takes to cut a deal, I think we're slitting our throats for the next project down the line. And I'd rather see this fail than set a bad precedent.
Okay, Commissioner Costello, Board Member Costello, I'm going along, give everybody a shot. Just hold your horses.
I'm inclined to go along with your recommendation, Mayor, but I think it's, that's your job, Vivian, to bring the parties together. It's imperative. that you work on is 24/7 if you have to. But make it happen. We've got people and players willing to go. If it's just a numbers game, it's your job to bring them together. And I put it at your feet to make it happen.
Take care, George.
Yes.
We'll take care of it.
First off, I want to point out something. We issued an RFP, and your client chose to respond. It was his choice to respond. We didn't come to him, he came to us by responding to the RFP. I want to make that point very clear. Secondly, Bonnie, you know the respect and admiration I have for you as legal counsel. You're damn good, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
But I, like Mr. Buchanan, feel that this wasn't done in the normal development manner, okay? I also had some issues in that your client was meeting with board members yet did not meet with the entire board. And I also had major problems with Anderson Carr's wish. In the thing, the word if and maybe, and it was a wish. It was not a valid. It was not looking at the land at the current status, which is vacant. Okay. I'm also not looking at using the property appraiser because that's not market. That's taxable value. That's not market value. What I'm looking at when I look at appraisals, I look at the market value of comparable properties. The properties that they used for their comps were fully developed properties. They weren't vacant land. I wish that reality would be in this, okay? But I was never asked to meet with Mr. Camilleri, and I'm sure Mr. Buchanan was not asked either. I feel that staff, if we did this the normal way, would have secured an intent from Cantor-Pantaluga. We need to be negotiating with your client on a reasonable value. It is not our fault that he overpaid for the land. His timing on that purchase was at a very high point in the market. And we didn't cause that. Once again, that was his choice to purchase at that time. And something being developed is better than nothing being developed. Now, I have no problem with an additional 30 days. I do not like the way this is being done. It is not your typical development agreement. And being a person in that field, I have issues with the way this is being done. Okay? But I have confidence in our staff. I have confidence in you that hopefully you'll be able to bring some reasonable thought into your client. And I want to see 200 jobs coming to that location. But I'm not going to give away the store.
Understood.
And there are others that may be interested. If things can't come together with Cantor-Pantaluga, then we have to look at other possibilities, and I would encourage, he's got good real estate development people. This isn't the first time he's proposed something on that site. This is, in my knowledge, this is the third or fourth proposal that he's made for that site. And God knows his architect's done 6 or 7 drawings on the thing. We need to bring reality to this, and I have no problem with the additional 30 days, but I don't want 30 days of spinning our wheels with unrealistic numbers. Because right now, we're at unrealistic numbers. There is no way I will accept that Anderson Carr appraisal. It's just, I don't know any institution that would accept it. So, we need to bring back to reality here, and that's all I have to say on it.
Board Member Merker.
Let's make it simple and nice. I totally concur with our mayor that his suggestion for postponing it 30 days is wise, smart, and intelligent. I totally agree with him. I totally agree with him in the sense that this project, selfishly, I'll phrase it that way, and personally, being a commissioner, that this is a catalyst for the city of Boynton Beach, and it's that important. And though we vented at you, and this is my first time I ever saw you, though your reputation is fine, we should all hold hands and say, let's go forward and make it work. We want it to work. It's good for the city. It should be good for your client. It should be good for the attorneys. And let's move forward, and hopefully in 30 days it will
Thank you.
be.
Yes.
I'll just add that I noticed it was brought up that Mr. Camilleri had not met with some of the other board members. The reason he met with me is I asked him to come to town and put him and Canner at the same table. I wanted to hear where they were at, and so we could have that input. I think tonight is very good. You get a lot of the board's
I appreciate everyone's comments.
feeling.
Thank you. And by the way,
I think
we
you
have
can take that back to your client.
we have full confidence in your staff as well. So we do appreciate your
We
comments.
communicate a lot. Bonnie
We
and I
do.
I think it was Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, well,
7 at night, 6 in the morning.
I'm hearing what the board is saying. I really do agree that I think now the next step needs to be put Mr. Camilleri, Mr. Canner, and Vivian at the same table and say, okay, lay our cards on the table. Either we got to go or no go. Let's move on with it.
And just in closing, I'd just like to keep the negotiations out of the newspapers, too. All right? Let's leave it out of the newspapers and leave it behind the closed doors.
Better tell her.
Good luck on that one.
She's sitting
Okay.
there. Me? Oh.
I did have a
We do have
motion. A motion second to give us 30 days to further negotiate.
Thank you very much.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So the motion is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One question about when we went to the water planting, I didn't know where to park, and I parked in the CRA property there, and there's been recent grass put there, and it looks like it's going to die pretty soon unless we get it watered. I mean, who knows really how long it's going to be grass. So what's the status on that?
It is Bahia, so Bahia is known. It'll look like that, and then when it rains, it'll come back. It would cost us a little over $3,000 to put it. We have to put an irrigation system in there, and I think a pump. Mike said. I asked him the other day, and
Mike Simon, Development Director. Typically, what we do with our demos and what's required by code is to sod with over the demolitions area, somewhat similar to what Mr. Camilleri did on his site, and we've done throughout the city and over here at Jones. Unfortunately for us, for 2 months, it rained so heavy that we were unable to harvest the sod and plant and take advantage of the rain. The sod, of course, was laid right at the end of that 2 months of rain, and it hasn't really rained since. That type of grass, hopefully, is designed or bred to come back. It rains. You can see some sparse greening in there. We were going to do the irrigation just to kind of get into the focus of the staff. We got bids to irrigate before the sod went in because we wanted to continue with some minor visual improvements to that corner. As the negotiations drug on and began with this site, and as you just discussed, we were a little hesitant to invest between $3,000 and $5,000 to irrigate and somewhat beautify that corner in the event that the property then did go into the hands of another owner. We are going back to our vendor, our maintenance vendor, to get that bid kind of updated. The problem is that the single line that is running now, we thought we could just tap into the single line, but there's not enough pressure to fulfill irrigating all the heads, which then means we have to go to a multi-zone system, which you understand. So I think it was really a little bit of a wait, hoping the rain would come back because of the negotiation with One Boynton, and seeing whether that may or may not continue. We are going back into the bid irrigation phase at your suggestion.
Well, my concern is that if these negotiations don't end up going anywhere, that land could sit there for a while, and if we're going to, have to have the rest of the property straightened out, look kind of hypocritical that ours was in bad shape, and when we have to get the rest of it sodded. So I think we should get it going. That's just my opinion.
No, I think you got a good point there, and I know Casa Costa would love to see us keep it up too. So.
Yeah, we did sod it. We did do the code.
Yeah, but we want to keep it looking nice for them.
We did.
Okay.
We need to make a motion on that, or just wait a month? Is it going to die in a month?
Well, with the cold fronts coming through, cycling back through, hopefully it changes. But we're going to be prepared with bids so that we go when the 30 days, we can get that all set up.
We can relook at that.
Because we'll need permits, and we're going to have to go through all that process.
All right. We'll go to new business now. Item A, consideration of request by Booz Development Group for acquisition of a CRA property at Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue and Seacrest Boulevard.
Well, this is something that is exciting to bring forward to you guys. As I've told you before, we've had a number of development groups looking to develop retail on MLK and Seacrest, and we've had three actually. This is one of them, and Booz Development has been able to get property control on two of the lots that are needed to put a retail store. Thank you. At that corner, at the southwest corner of MLK and Seacrest. And what they're seeking from us would be two of the CRA lots right along Seacrest there. One was a former convenience store, excuse me, and one is the old church that was just vacated on 9th and Seacrest. And they are seeking those at zero cost because the two other lots they have under site control costs them in excess of the actual value of the property's worth, which is kind of what we expected would happen. One is a vacant lot on MLK, and one is a little house. And so I'll let them present what they are proposing there.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members. I'm Paul Tremblay with Bose Development Group. Our address is 5789 Northwest 151st Street, Suite B, Miami Lakes, Florida 33014. I am the Regional Director of Real Estate and Development for the South Florida office. I have a small presentation to give to you, basically an overview of Bose, Family Dollar, and then we'll get into the specifics of this site. I have with me here is Henry Dirksen, who's our real estate manager, and then we have Sharon Bod in the audience here, who's one of our project managers, so we can also field any questions you may have on the project. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and give our presentation, and then maybe we do some questions and answers at the end if that's okay with everybody here.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, great. Bose Development Group, we are a privately held company. We're family owned. We are founded in 1997. We have an executive team that brings more than 200 years of experience. Our principals and senior management team have retail development, public accounting backgrounds, coupled with an extensive in-house real estate research, acquisitions, and development staff. We're poised to deliver exceptional retail expansion programs nationwide. We do everything from the acquisition to the construction to the turning over of the keys and handing it over to our tenants. So we partner the whole way through. We follow a unique discipline of business model, and we provide real estate services to selected clients. We don't work for everybody. We only work for a certain group of individuals or companies. We have developed a pattern of strategic growth in response to the specific client. We meet our specific client needs. Our headquarters is in Clearwater, but we have offices in Miami, Atlanta, Birmingham, Bentonville, Arkansas, Philadelphia, and Southern California, and hopefully, if we're lucky, more to come. One thing I want to point out with Bose is we are a fee-for-service developer, which is there's not a whole lot of us out there, and it's a different type of work. And in other words, we get paid a set fee to deliver a product to our client. So regardless of the land value or regardless of the budget or the return on the investment by our client, we as a developer, we don't make any more or less. Our fee is based on the success of the project, and it's a lump sum. So it's not a graduated scale like maybe a merchant developer will be. I think it's important to understand that because in this situation where we're asking for some help from the city, Bose Development itself does not really gain any return other than a successful project, which then would pay us our fee. We are paid at the very end, so it's not along the way. So unless we can deliver the keys to our client, we are in this for practice, and that's not what we are out to do. So I want to make that very clear so that everybody understands what we do. Our experience speaks volumes. We've done over $600 million worth of work. I'm sorry, I hit the button by accident. This is a list of some of our clients. We're predominantly CVS, Family Dollar, Chase developers, and that's basically what we do in this market. And then in the other markets, you see those other clients. But in the South Florida area, we basically run with about 3 clients. Family Dollar, for us, is one of our primary clients. They pride themselves in being a neighborhood store, and they're continuously striving to be a positive part of the neighborhoods they serve. They like to partner and work with the community to create a store everyone can be proud of. And once the store opens, they will work diligently and ensure Family Dollar maintains a positive addition to the community. They really are a tight-knit, small type store. At Family Dollar, the value, their value means quality items, affordable prices. The core customer for Family Dollar is the working mom who wants to take good care of her home and family within limited means. For her, it's the constant budgeting and balancing act that they follow that she wants for her family, and that's why she shops at Family Dollar, and that's really the core client of Family Dollar. There's obviously a lot of people that shop there, but that's their predominant customer base. Family Dollar team is a good place to work. Oops, sorry. It's a good place to work. It's also a compelling place for its team members. The store employs between 8 to 10 people, and they always hire within the community. That's really where their base is, local people that can get to the store fairly easily. They do serve all the communities and maximize the opportunity to serve families in urban markets. Many retailers avoid these markets, but Family Dollar understands that the urban shoppers need the same modern shopping experience, convenience, value, brands, and that they need for their customers as well. And I think they do a very good job of this. Their stores are very nice. They do have up-to-date products. It's a very good store to have. In this particular instance, we have the project at the corner of Seacrest Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. And I'm going to turn it over to Henry Dirksen, who is our real estate manager, who can give you the specifics for the property, and we've got some aerials to show you.
Address is 5789 Northwest 151st Street, Suite B, Miami Lakes, Florida 33014. As a real estate manager for Bose Development Group, I work hand in hand with the real estate managers for our clients, whether it's Family Dollar, CVS, or Chase. And we work together to look at a particular market and to identify sites where we feel that there's a need for a store and where it would benefit the community and both the community and our client. In this particular case, we looked at Seacrest, the southeast corner of Seacrest and Martin Luther King. We've identified 4 parcels, 2 of which are owned by the CRA, presently on the frontage of Seacrest. Addresses are 1000 North Seacrest and 1010 North Seacrest. And 2 parcels that are owned by private property owners. One private property owner is Mr. and Mrs. Sam and Eula Berry, and the other property owner is 2 gentlemen that are partners, Blindy Turku and Zamir Ulasoy. I've worked very closely with both of those groups to come up with a plan to acquire their properties that would allow us to assemble all 4 so we could fit the prototypical or non-prototypical, in this particular case, Family Dollar store to serve the local community. In working with them, we initially looked at what can we afford to pay from a global perspective. And as we began to talk further with the CRA, it was recommended you really need to, from the history, work with the private property owners first to secure their buy-in. So we took that recommendation from Ms. Brooks and Mr. Simon, and we met with the private property owners I mentioned and began working through the pricing. And I think they could probably speak to the history of this project and this property, that those 2 groups are very particular and hold very fast to what they feel the value is that they were once offered in a previous development. After much negotiation and several meetings, we came to an agreement on the price with both of the owners. I have signed contracts with both of the owners. And so we've come back here to seek the CRA support in acquiring the last 2 parcels. It was a matter of fact, I got a nice email from Mr. Berry today supporting what we're trying to do here and saying that he is very much in favor of hiring local folks and he wants to see the project happen.
I would think so.
Yes.
sorry. It's just, if you know the history, you can't help but laugh, okay?
Well, we're glad to be able to come here and say that we have signed contracts and to share that with you. We think that lends a lot of credibility to what we've tried to accomplish and what our goals are, and we hope that you'll also be in favor of supporting us. As Paul mentioned, Bose is a fee development service provider for Family Dollar. We have visited the site with Family Dollar with their vice president. He has approved us to move this forward to their real estate committee and to seek their corporate approval, which would be the next step following approval from the CRA board of what we're trying to accomplish. To ensure the success of this project, we really need the CRA to back us, to contribute as we've requested, and to support our efforts as we meet with the city as we go down the future steps for planning and zoning and permitting and all of that to see it through to the end. At the end of the day, the entity that will be closing on this property is Family Dollar. As Paul mentioned, we're a fee developer. We don't own these. Family Dollar will be the ultimate owner of these properties at the end of the day. And so we seek your support to that extent. The next slide here, you'll see an aerial. This is actually one of the CRA's aerial images, which shows you a number of the different parcels, their location, whether they're privately owned or owned by the CRA. I've taken the liberty of kind of highlighting in blue. It's a little tough to see on the big screen there. But the two parcels along the frontage of Seacrest, as I mentioned, are CRA parcels, and the other two are the private property parcels. The next slide here is a little bit of a blow-up. Again, a little tough to see on the big screen, but there's a red highlight around the property we're looking to acquire. You'll see that the private property parcels, one is vacant. That's Mr. and Mrs. Berry's property. And the other one has a rental home on it that's owned by Mr. Ulasoy and Mr. Turco. The next slide here, we have our proposed site plan. We've worked very hard with Family Dollar, and we've also taken input and had a preliminary meeting with the planning and zoning staff of the city of Boynton Beach, and put together a site plan we feel not only accomplishes the requirements from Family Dollar to access, visibility, trucking, and store operations, but also meets the requirements for the CRA overlay district, and we hope that will provide a store that is a benefit and an asset to the community and to that corner and that intersection. The next slide is a little bit more of a blow-up. This is a non-typical Family Dollar store in that it has two corner clips. We ended up clipping the corner on the northwest side because there is some art in public places that was installed there by the CRA, as well as some mechanical equipment, I think, that operates the light. Otherwise, we would have just the main entrance there facing Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We are still working through what the ultimate product will look like, but we did take a lot of notes, and we've compared those notes with some of our other projects to try to come up with something that we could share with you today that may resemble somewhat of what the end product might look like. This particular store is a store that is going to be built at Pembroke and 7th, I believe, down Allendale Beach. This is also a corner entry store with a parking lot in a similar configuration to what we're proposing, along with the roadway in a similar location. And I'll turn over to Paul as far as benefits.
I had a question about that last picture.
Yes, sir.
What did you use? Is that SketchUp, Revit, or AutoCAD, or what?
I don't know. It's whatever the architect used, and we paid a whole lot of money for it, so I'm sure it's expensive software. It looks good, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
I had a question as well.
Yes, sir.
I see the curb cuts on Martin Luther King, and then I see a curb cut after your monument sign off of Seacrest, but I also see access only for dumpsters there.
Access for I'm sorry.
For dumpsters.
Yes,
for
sir.
the dumpsters.
It's not. There are two lines shown right there. If I can maybe, there's two lines shown right here.
Right.
I think this is the engineer's mistake. This is going to be open for free flow here and here.
Okay,
Yeah, those two lines should not be
my
there.
question
You are
was,
right.
because it looked like the only access was to the dumpster, and I had concerns with that.
But we're not in site plan.
Yeah,
We're not in site plan
I
approval
just
tonight.
wanted to just get some clarification.
I'll just
Just one question. I think I know the answer, but I want to ask it. This is ownership of this store is not franchised.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
corporately owned.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I'll hear.
I'll turn over to Paul for the...
I'd like to hear the rest of the presentation, then we'll come with some more questions.
So basically, in closing, this is an urban infill redevelopment project, which I think meets the needs of the CRA. We believe it's the highest and best use for this vacant land. We believe it's very compatible with the community. I think we've come up with a nice product that will fit in with the neighborhood. Family Dollar obviously is a contribute to the municipal tax base, also with the employment generation. It can be a focal point to the area. I think it's convenience and has a value to the area. I think it'll provide the leader effect for that whole block. I mean, obviously the CRA has been looking at this block. We saw by their initial map there was a lot of red and yellow in there. So I think if maybe we are the first, maybe others will follow, and we tend to have that ability, and we're looking for your support to do so.
That store does include groceries?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm very excited about this project, needless to say. I agree with all your benefits. This has been a long awaited for project to give a jump start to that area. I view this one the same way I view the project we just talked about a little earlier down on US 1 and Ocean Avenue on the southwest corner. It is the missing link here to get things going down there. So I'm looking forward to this whole project to make this happen for that whole community, because it's way overdue. So whatever we have to do to try to make this a reality, I'm all for it. Now, one question I do have here, I noticed on one of your drawings there was another private-owned property on 9th Avenue there. It's privately owned, and that one piece would prevent you from squaring that off. Would there be an advantage of being able to square that off, or does it make any difference?
I'll answer that question. I'm sure Henry can also answer it as well. That is a residential lot, so it's not zoned for commercial use, which would limit our use and require some type of zoning. Sure, square is always better than the shape, but in this case also it's going to add cost to the property. So we were able to work without it, so it makes the process faster, and it keeps us within the Family Dollar budget. Yeah.
Thank you.
Question?
I just got one. Is there any other mom and pop operations within, mile and a half of the store that will be affected? You putting this to be like putting a Walmart next to the corner store?
There's some small convenience stores in the neighborhood that are not full service like this, that this has not only food, it has other things, sundry items as well. So it's more full service. What is in the neighborhood, if you drive through, are convenience stores. And if you go through some of them, and you could probably speak to some of the police officers who are familiar with the neighborhood about these convenience stores, they're convenient for a lot of things that are not perhaps what the neighborhood would like sometimes.
Well, our intent is not to put these businesses out of business.
Some of them would be, if you read the HOB plan, the original one that we're looking to amend, that was actually one of the things the neighborhood wanted, was these convenience stores gone, because they are nuisance. In many cases, they're nuisances. So a store like this that's corporately owned and maintained in such a fashion is really what the community has just said they've wanted for a long time.
I will say that,
Mr. Chair.
I would just say that having spent many weekends in the past marching up and down that street in this location to stamp out drug centers, etc., I'm telling you, I feel like this is what the CRA is all about. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We've eliminated some undesirable operations, and we're going to bring in something that community has been waiting for and asking for years. We're finally going to be able to make that first big step to do something that really is going to upgrade that particular neighborhood. I'm 100% behind it.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Mr. Buchanan.
I also am very much in favor and very excited about this project. My only hesitation about it is I would like for staff to work. The appearance of this building bothers me. That's a tight neighborhood. It's residential and commercial together and things like that. And I think that this building, the external appearance of it, could be more pleasing, maybe more along the Floridian design we've talked about, things like that. Not looking to make it a deal breaker, but I would like to see the aesthetics be more in line with the things we've talked about, the things we've done with Ocean Breeze West, and that kind of thing. And I'd like for staff to work with these gentlemen to just make it look better, make it softer, make it more like that has to hit that cross between home and business kind of thing is what I'm looking at here. But that's my only comment.
Sure.
Yes, Board Member.
I concur with all of that, but let me just, for information for Board Member Costello, I did talk with the owner of the closest business just to the east of the project in question, Mr. Clifford Bell. I told him some time ago of the potential of this project coming, and he had no problem with it. He told me that they would just make whatever adjustments he had to make. Okay, so he's well aware for some time that this was a potential project that was going to come, and at that time he had no problem with it. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to make the motion that we direct staff to publish an intent to dispose of the real estate, the real property for 1000 North Seacrest Boulevard and 1010 North Seacrest Boulevard. Legal description of the property to be included in notice. Conduct independent and real estate appraisal of both parcels and schedule a review of parcels at the January 14, 2014 CRA board meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
And discussion?
Yeah, I still.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's go with Mr. Fitzpatrick first. Then
I got a question for Vivian. Hudson Realty, they were talking, still pie in the sky, and nothing's done there yet. And so I'm in favor of this project. It's the first one on the block, so to speak. I mean, it is. But so my question is, they were also talking about a grocery store, and that'd only be a couple hundred yards away. How's that work? Do they both go out of business? Do they both thrive, or what's?
In my conversations with Hudson, they were talking about operating something a little different than this.
Okay.
And
so
they were going to be
not
operating
competing
it
markets.
themselves. Yeah, something much smaller, something very different. So, not nearly the size or scope of this. So they'll adjust, I'm sure, in response to this, if this comes to fruition.
And I'd just like to make a comment or an observation. So I don't know if it's a trend or not, but as was pointed out, they had a budget and for property purchase, and the two property owners, basically private property owners, exploited that, knowing that the CRA is going to act like, pushovers and want this so badly will do anything to make it happen, which I'm not saying I'm going to vote for it, but I'm just saying, is there a trend here, or I don't know where's the balance there. It's kind of bothers me because that's exactly the same thing that's going on with Caterpillar. I mean, yes, we do give away land, but where's that balance? I truthfully don't know where it is or how to, because we could run out of money real fast with these kind of deals.
Mr. Mayor, and that's a great segue. What I'd like to say is that one of these parcels we paid $345,000 for, and it's currently appraised at $35,000, and that's what the current selling price would be.
They're proposing for us to turn over for $10. There
For
was a
$10.
convenience store on that parcel that was $345 when we purchased it in February of 2010, and that's why it was $345, because it was a convenience store. Also,
It wouldn't have been worth that much when we knocked it down.
it was definitely not that nice.
Okay.
Chair,
but it did appraise for that. We have to get an appraisal just to explain.
Well, I'm just a little concerned that and I understand the object in the direction of a CRA, but like Board Member Fitzpatrick is saying, and we're paying outrageous numbers for property, and they were giving it away for $10. And I understand it's a great project, and I think it'd be great for the neighborhood and all, but we've got to get a little more investment back on our dollar here.
Well, we can ask them to show us their contracts with the other property owners to show you. And you have property owners who've been in there a long time and one of them is the former CRA chair who went in and purchased a whole bunch of property right around where the CRA was buying land with the intent of the CRA buying the land from him. So this is what we're up against. This is what staff is up against and the private sector's up against. So,
Commissioner Kerr George?
Yes. For education for both public and for some of the members up here, when we purchased that convenience store, it was a crime node. It was one of 3 crime nodes identified by our police department. It was to get and move crime north, to be blunt about it. We also bought it with the intent to redevelop it and to redevelop it with retail as an anchor on that corner. We just came back from Tampa, and in their east-west CRAs, when we did the drive-through, they had done this, Family Dollar, 3 different stores within that area as a catalyst to jumpstart those neighborhoods and provide. You got to remember another thing. That area is a food desert. Now, this solves the food desert problem with the grocery that is provided. It takes it from a convenience store venue to a more full-service store. I am amazed that you got an agreement with Mr. Berry. I really am.
Not get personal.
No, I'm dead serious because
don't get personal. Don't blow the deal.
No, what I'm saying is you've got a signed contract with Mr. Berry, and I can remember when Mr. Berry had delusions of grandeur. Okay.
Personal.
And I do want to see what the purchase prices were. We're going to have to do appraisals because by statute we have to do appraisals. But you still have 2 hurdles, and those hurdles are with Family Dollar. You've got to go through the real estate committee. It could die right there. If they say the dog don't hunt, the dog don't hunt, and it ain't going to happen. You've got another step. Once you pass that hurdle, you've got to get it past the Family Dollar board, the corporate board, to approve the development and the dollars that go along with that development.
I can answer that question for you.
One more, let them finish.
Again, I'm trying to make things simple.
Can he finish?
Obviously,
Let
you've
him
had
finish.
these.
Let him finish, and I'll give it to you.
Okay.
He wanted to answer his question.
The Family Dollar process is a 2-step process. The first is the vice president process, which we've already hurdled. They give us the metrics on how we can make the financials work for the store. Provided that we can do this today, we feel we're within those metrics. And so if we can deliver a close to prototype within the metrics, we have a very high success rate of getting through and it's one real estate committee, it's called SVP. If we can be within the budget and deliver them a store that functionally works the parking lot, the cars and so forth, we can get this approved.
Board Member Merker.
Again, maybe I'm being too simplistic, but you gentlemen obviously have been doing this business. You know what you're confronting, you know what you have, and you know what you have to get. And the questions are fair questions, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you know what you're doing. And it seems everyone's positive about this structure, this business, and that's the way we should look at it. Anything could be made negative, and anything could be made positive, and the census of this is positive, so let's make it positive and move forward.
Commissioner Castillo, and then I'm going to call the question.
Yeah. Mr. Carajudge, thank you for that education, and I'm not debating the fact here that it is a food desert down there. My only question is that we pay $345,000 for a building, we later knock it down, and now we're willing to give the land away for $10, or asked to sell it for $10. That was my only point. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is review and evaluation of Delray Beach CRA Auditor General's findings and recommendations.
This was on the request of Board Member Merker. The Delray CRA had the Auditor General look at their CRA, and there were 19 findings. And David Tolsis from Jim's firm came and sat with us, and we went through it. And basically, we looked at the findings, and there weren't anything really serious in the findings. And there is Susan Harris, Finance Director, prepared a spreadsheet in the back that compared the findings of Delray and how it applied to our CRA, whether it did apply or it did not apply at all. So you can go through and see whether it does apply to us or not. And for the most part, they really don't apply to us. We didn't really have the same issues as the Delray CRA. We have had, for now, 5 years, clean audits. 5 years. Susan's very confident. So we've had no issues. So when we laid it out with David and we walked through it, we operate differently. They fund nonprofits. The Delray CRA funds nonprofits at a very high rate, in the millions of dollars annually. And some of the issues they had where they were paying out before they got the reports that they were required, and just little things like that. So we don't do that. So those are the most.
It's just, matter of everybody's concerned with different issues. And when something comes up in one city, you sort of get a little defensive, and you say, we better make sure. And, it's just dotting the I and crossing the T.
CRAs are definitely in the limelight for sure, because they have money, and people, especially, if there's people want to make a thing about it, they're going to come after you and say, hey, they're doing this wrong, and they sick the Auditor General on you. So that's what happened in this case. And quite frankly, most of these findings were minimal, were really nothing. So.
Mr. Chair,
we need a motion.
No, we don't. I think at the end of the day, the bottom line is Boynton is okay.
That's
CRA.
It was good.
I
We took a
accept
look
your
at it.
word.
Mayor, one thing I do want to point out, if you look at finding number 8, the CRA, that means staff, will be assisting board members next year with respect to financial disclosure, since a few members of this board failed to timely file this past year. So that is a good takeaway from the report itself.
Jim, you were talking about Delray. Our board, did our board file on time?
Several of you did not file your financial disclosure in a timely fashion. You cured it by filing, but it was after the deadline. The staff will assist you going into next year.
Yeah,
with
staff will
reminders
give us a heads up on that.
out in front of the deadlines.
Yeah.
I do have a question on that. If they file as city commissioners, they have to file a separate one as CRA board members?
No, they don't.
Okay. But the separate board, the appointed ones have to file?
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll have to monitor you two.
Okay.
Okay.
We did fine.
Thank you.
You can monitor us too.
I'm sure Janet does that already.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Item C is consideration of funding the driveway curb cuts closure project located within the Florida Department of Transportation FDOT right-of-way at 301 East Boynton Beach Boulevard.
Good evening again, Board Chair Mike Simon, Assistant Director of the CRA. The item before you is the consideration of approving funding for the driveway curb cut closure project within the FDOT right-of-way on East Boynton Beach Boulevard at 301 East Boynton Beach Boulevard. As the backup indicates, we've been working with Kimley Horn initially on the Boynton Beach Boulevard beautification project, and part of that was identification of existing conditions, and one of those conditions that was brought forth in the initial discussions and I guess conceptual preliminary thoughts about Boynton Beach Boulevard was the numerous curb cuts that exist now, along with the middle road, the suicide lane as they call it, and some other issues. In this particular case, the owner of the property at 301 East Boynton Beach Boulevard, DJ's Grill, has been desirous for some time of expanding his facility to allow for outdoor cafe dining and some other improvements that the CRA over the last several years has been working with him on. You may remember we had an architectural enhancement grant that he participated in along with several other property owners on MLK Boulevard and on Boynton Beach Boulevard as well. In this particular case, the curb cut that exists, the apron to pull into the property exists in FDOT right of way, and through the help of our engineers, we've been able to mitigate a lot of the work that needs to be done through the process of FDOT, and we're looking for your approval to use funding under the Boynton Beach Boulevard redesign line item to pay for the renovation and reconstruction of the apron to the FDOT standard sidewalk. We think that it's going to be very beneficial to the look of that area. It eliminates an excess drive apron that currently exists and will allow for one of our restaurants, existing local restaurants, to be able to do the cafe dining.
Sure.
Board Member Hay?
I was just at DJ this morning for breakfast, and they've really done an outstanding job in that little modification they put out front. I think this would be bring closure to that great project to approve this driveway curb cut closure, and I think they're being proactive in terms of the direction that we're trying to take Boynton in. And I think they're going to do well by having those tables out there, and the platform is beautiful. It's just that curb area that needs to be taken care of. So I support this.
Why was that curb like that, Mike? Was there a reason for that at some point?
There used to be parking in the front.
Cars would drive right into the door, basically.
Yeah.
Can we vote?
Is there
a motion?
Second.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve this. Any other discussion?
One other point, they actually are planning on doing more improvements to the site, and that's something that's positive. They've invested a lot in redoing the exterior. They redid the parking lot, they added the patio, the landscape, they've done a tremendous amount, and they're planning on doing even more. And if we can motivate and get this to be contagious on Boynton Beach Boulevard, it'll be real good.
Amen.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion unanimous.
Thank you. I just want to give you a quick recap of the Pirates event, since it was one of our larger events. We did do attendance tracking with clickers throughout the 2 days, and we estimate about 8,000 plus people came to the event. We did raise between sponsorship, concession rebates, and vendor fees, $12,550. I would like to next year look more towards sponsorship to underwrite these events. So I'm going to hopefully bring back to you an RFP for that kind of service. That's really outside the realm of our expertise, fundraising, and I'd like to be able to hopefully run that money through the Greater Boynton Foundation, since we do have a city nonprofit for that purpose. I'd like to really take a lot of these larger events off the CRA budget and into sponsorship, and use our CRA dollars for projects. That's my goal. I'm going to try to achieve that as much as possible. And as the larger events get larger, I think sponsorship will become easier. Corona loved the event. That was one of our sponsors. They loved it, and they want to talk about how to make it bigger next year. So I think that's a good sign. So that's it.
Question.
Okay.
Bill, do you have any figures on how the Children's Schoolhouse Museum did?
They were down a little bit, they said, and I think it could have been because that mermaid tank was there, and then they didn't have their tent up to the street until the second day, so they didn't have a proper sign out front. So
they'll probably make those adjustments next year.
Yeah. Every year you got to fine tune it.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Are you going to try keeping the events crossing Federal Highway, because that was kind of a loss?
No.
No, it's short answer.
That's what we learned. No.
Okay. In your backup, you have listed the new businesses in the CRA district, 2026.
I'm going to take that long spreadsheet out and do something different so it's a little easier for the public to read and for you to read. I'm going to give you an update each month of new businesses in the CRA. And this is from June till now, or June till October. 26 new businesses within the CRA. I think that's really an indicator of the economy coming back, indicator of the marketing efforts that we have, creating a positive business environment. Even though we don't give a grant to all these, we only gave grants to 2 of these businesses, the fact that you have that kind of environment where you can come in and get that assistance, it creates the idea to come here. So that 26 new businesses in that time frame is pretty amazing. That's really good. So
Also have a listing of your development project status update. Any questions from the board?
Any questions on that? If you have any questions on, I do want to talk a little bit about 500 Ocean, and that is what they are calling that project,
Right.
which is what it used to be called.
Yes.
Just so you're not confused, and I did ask that question myself. They are proposing 345 rental units, 15,000 square feet of retail. The retail is sufficiently deep enough to be successful. It's a nice-looking project. City staff and Mike and I met with them on November 4th. We asked them to do a couple tweaks to it. They're going to submit for site plan early December, which, given the holidays, is probably with Christmas and New Year's, probably will put them a little longer than the usual 4 months. But hopefully they concurrently start the construction permitting process. So it looks like it's a go. They did ask us for funding, for financial assistance, just FYI, and I said no. So not all who ask get.
That's one of the first.
Any other business come before the board?
Real quick,
Motion
Chair.
to adjourn.
Chair,
Wait a minute.
I had a question for staff.
I'm sorry.
One of the businesses that was left off was Sherwin-Williams. And that's
This is what we get from the fire department.
Oh, so they haven't.
They haven't come through
They
yet.
haven't
for their,
come through for
right.
the permit yet. But that's also going to have a nice impact as well.
Stand adjourned.
Thank you.